This is TWiT.
Guess what's Thursday?
It's a big anniversary.
It is a very big day. Thursday, June 29th, 2007. Actually, it wasn't a Thursday
what happened,
then.
Leo? What happened?
We got our iPhone. We waited in line for hours and hours and hours and hours. We'd heard about the iPhone in January at Macworld Expo. We'd stood in front of the plexiglass case with the guards on either side, looking at it. But it was June 29th, 10 years ago. I remember getting in line here in Petaluma at the AT&T store. And it was actually not too bad. It was about a 3-hour wait. What's cool, and the Apple lines back then, in fact, that one especially, if you were in line waiting for an iPhone, you were a cool person. I mean, I met two guys from Google who had been up all night making, I think it was Google Reader or Gmail work on the new iPhone. And it was so cool. We all had our little, seats, our little, ballpark chairs. And I waited in line, and I was praying because I knew, it wasn't an Apple store. I was praying that AT&T had enough, but I was like 16th in line. And yes, I came out with this. God, it looks small and thick at the same time.
So small.
Small, so thick.
It's beautiful, though. I mean, it's just iconic at this point.
Oh, yeah. It was skeuomorphic.
And I was talking on the phone on my Trio, because that's what I had before my iPhone.
I'm waiting in line. I'm going to get this new thing called an iPhone. And then remember that picture of Scott Bourne? We should have gotten Scott on the show today. He's been very nostalgic.
Forrestall or Bourne?
No, Bourne. He's been very nostalgic in the last few weeks on Facebook, posting, pictures of him getting his new iPhone and, how he had the most popular at one time iPhone podcast in the world. And, it's so cute.
Did you see when Scott Forrestall said he never heard the word skeuomorphic? For him, it was photo illustrative and metaphorical.
Yeah. You did, by the way. Thank you. You did a great summary of that video at the Computer History Museum. John Markoff interviewing all these great people. I'm at Scott's page, see if he has that picture of him.
His iPhone vest?
His iPhone vest, yeah. Wow, there it is.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I was hosting the most popular iPhone podcast in the world. Everyone was telling me I was crazy. They said the iPhone was a fad and would never take off. Scott was a believer. He knew, and he was so excited. I want to find that picture of him coming out of the store, holding his iPhone up high. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh.
Tell me your story, Rene. You were in Canada, so you couldn't buy it.
Yeah. No, I couldn't. I was stuck on a Trio 680 and a Trio Pro or something, just looking at the rest of the world. We're looking at the U.S. with abject jealousy.
I brought one of these for Amber MacArthur. This was probably a few months later when somebody had cracked it. So that's
when I got mine, yeah.
You could use it in Canada on Rogers or Telstra, or not Telstra, that's Australia.
And it was $200 for 100 megabytes of data in Canada back then.
Yeah. I brought it up to her. She never used it. I found out later. She liked her BlackBerry. She wasn't going to use it.
I think BlackBerries were the last holdout because there was a lot of reasons that people used their BlackBerry, and
also Canadian.
We still see them a couple times. You see them in some government areas.
I traded in that was my last smartphone before the iPhone was the Pearl, the BlackBerry with the Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
What was your story, Alex? How did you get your first iPhone? I remember sitting in WWDC with you and Scott.
We were excited.
Today we're announcing 3 new products. We already went through that in January, but an internet browser, what was it? An internet device, a music player,
a widescreen iPod,
and a widescreen iPod,
and
a phone,
and a revolutionary phone, a breakthrough internet communicator.
And
I was hanging on
a widescreen iPod.
Phone. My old phone wasn't working. I was like, I am not buying a new phone because Apple's releasing a phone. They're going to release a phone, and so I'm not going to buy a new phone.
Nobody believed it.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. I had the angriest I ever got with AT&T got me in such a state that I had to literally hang up the phone after 2 weeks of trying to solve this problem with them and thinking that I really feel the need to cancel AT&T. But this was like 8 months before the announcement of the iPhone. And I said, the best information I have right now is that AT&T either has already signed a contract to be the exclusive carrier of the of the Apple phone, or they are very close to it. Andy, are you willing to cut off your nose to that extent so that you're going to have to sign up with AT&T again sometime next year to get the phone? Or are you going to eat mud on this issue, pay them the $75 that you are absolutely not required to pay them for, and extend your contract for a year, which you are not required to do? Yeah, okay, fine. I'll have to eat spit. But I want to let them know that it's because I know that they're getting the iPhone. That's the only reason why I'm putting up with this garbage.
Andy,
oh boy, was it hard to do.
Alex Lindsay, who was on? So this is MacBreak Weekly number 46, June 29th, 2007. We called, the name of the show was iDay. It was Merlin, I know, was on it.
Yeah.
Alex was on it.
Netcasts
you weren't on it yet, Andy, right?
From people you trust.
I guess not. Oh no, I was on that show.
Were you? Well,
Yeah,
it says so, but that's because.
MacBreak Weekly, episode
okay,
46.
sorry, maybe not.
Yeah, ignore this.
29th, 2007. iDay.
Let me skip ahead.
Alex Lindsay is here from
I have an
Pixelport.
iPhone.
He has an iPhone. Scott Bourne is here from ApplePhoneShow.com. He has an iPhone. Merlin Mann is here from 43folders.com and the Merlin Mann Show. He does not have a phone.
No,
But
I didn't
he
get
did a great segment about the iPhone.
He will
Yeah,
now
Omni got him one later, didn't they?
representing the holdout.
Curmudgeon.
Yeah, not necessarily curmudgeon, just the holdout. And
Not
I think there are
curmudgeon.
quite a few
Yeah.
holdouts. I think a lot of people, in fact, it was my advice to anybody who isn't a fanatic, a lot of people did hold out. Say, wait for Generation 2. Is that what you're waiting for?
Generation
I think,
2.
yeah, exactly.
Well, this one actually may be not bad because this does not do 3G, right?
Yeah. Remember that it didn't do cut and paste. It didn't have apps.
Didn't have an app
It
store.
Apps.
It had a keyboard. It had like the first all glass fake keyboard that if you'd used it, you were shocked and delighted at how easy it was to use. If you had not used it, you're going to be like, I'm spending $450 for a phone that doesn't have a keyboard. Okay.
Well, also,
So it was hard to.
It was for the
revolutionary.
longest time. I couldn't type my name on an iPhone.
It didn't have Brick Breaker.
I
put in
kept having to tell people the secret is to don't think, just type.
Yeah,
Don't
but
think, just
The
type.
screens were
It will
too
figure it out
small,
for you.
and it just never, Laporte just never came out right.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it was
The
very
person
hard.
who
to-
invented autocorrect is the same person who created Internet Explorer, Dean Hachimowicz from Microsoft.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I have to say that launch day was a little bit heartbreaking for me because whenever people try to understand exactly how excited people were about the iPhone, I tell them about how, look, I had a briefing right after the keynote in January where it was introduced, and I got to hold one of what must have been, I now know were only 2 or 3 functioning
Wow.
iPhones and use it unrestricted, and it was like, what news from Gallery? You actually touched the hem of Jesus? What hand was it? Can I touch? What hand did you hold the iPhone as? Can I touch that hand as well? And I'm like, oh, the scrolling was smooth. It was like the waves of a calm, tranquil ocean lapping toward the shore.
By the way,
I got so many meals off of that. That's how excited people were.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get stories of what
yeah.
it was like to use an iPhone was solid gold currency back then.